All right, today we're going to read our Living Constitution together. So go ahead and get your book printed out. If you did not, if you don't have that, just pause the video. So you can go ahead and color your pictures if you want. And then as we're reading the story, then you can go ahead and like underline or highlight important information you think that you want to remember that's important to the Constitution. So our living Constitution, we've been talking about that. And so this is a picture of the writers and people who are at writing the Constitution, and then thought it would be important to write the Constitution. So you can go ahead and read along with me. There are a lot of big words. I'll try to explain them a little bit. So before we had our Constitution, our new country was a mess. There was no consistency in government, and the states were in distress, so they were in trouble. The Articles of Confederation gave each state its sovereignty, but the U.S. federal government had no taxing authority. So the taxes came from a different country, and that was England. And so taxes is what helps run a government and can help with that. But there were too many taxes, and so the people were angry. As you can see, these guys are angry. Again, we have angry guys. There was no permanent capital. It was moved from place to place. The way U.S. soldiers were treated was really a disgrace. So the men who fought for the 13 colonies' rights, so the soldiers weren't treated very well. Then there was an armed uprising led by a man whose name was Shays. Because if people didn't pay their taxes, the government took their lands away. So again, there were too many taxes, and so they obviously were unhappy, and so then the land would be taken away. And some people probably couldn't afford it, and some people just didn't want to pay for it. Farmers demanded lower taxes. They said the debtors' prisons had to go. Shays' rebellion sent a message: change must come or we can't grow. In Maryland, they held a meeting. The year was 1786. The states must all get together to look at things and how they could fix them and make our country better. All right, so these guys all represent the different states. They had to have people represented, one from each of the states. And these are represented like New Jersey, North Carolina, Connecticut, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, New York. So the 13 states were all invited, but only 5 states reps were there. They had to plan a second meeting. All 13 states were made aware. In Philadelphia's Independence Hall Convention number 2 took place. Only 12 states were represented, but change all states would have to face. Once the meeting came to order, they put George Washington in charge. It was clear that they all knew the task in front of them was large. The Articles of Confederation were scrapped, thrown away. The states agreed to start fresh, start anew. This is how our Constitution started, and from this point it grew and grew. For months and months, delegates worked. They worked 6 days a week. Sometimes the arguments were loud, and sometimes things looked bleak, didn't look good. Once the basics were put in place, every representative agreed. Person that was there at the meeting, they agreed that they had a document that worked, and it worked well indeed. Checks and balances is what they called it, were also put in place so everyone could see. There would be branches in the government, and they would number 3. The legislative branch, so these are the legislative, the judicial, and executive, and they put it on branches, but they call them branches of the government. So the legislative branch is one of them. This branch makes laws. The judicial was another branch to keep things legal for the cause. And then the third branch was executive. They would elect the president. So the third branch is the president. When everything was all laid out, we had a brand new document. It was not a simple thing. It took a lot of time and thought. America's living constitution is a document that we got. So here again are the men who drafted and worked hard to write this Constitution that we still use today. And then you can go ahead and you can answer these questions down here. So if you need to go back, you need to highlight important information, things that you want to remember about the Constitution, you can go ahead and do that, and color if you would like. All right. Have a great day.